wellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
Welcome to Nourishing the Mother, featuring your hosts Bridget Wood and Julie Tenner.
Hello and welcome to Nourishing the Mother. I'm Bridget Wood.
And I'm Julie Tenner. And before we kick off today's Going Overdue and the challenges we face in pregnancy awaiting birth, we'd love to remind you to jump on to nourishingthemother.com.au and on the homepage there to scroll down a little bit to join our tribe. There's a form to fill out, just your name and your email address, and you will then receive a once a week email from us where we give you all of the links and all of the blurbs so you can click through to what's relevant to you that you want to dive deeper into, anything we've posted about. And then occasionally we also send you a second email about something we're processing, thinking about toolkits, challenges, things we'd share with each other or with friends that might just really help you fuel your journey. And sometimes just a reminder's enough to get us through our next week, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah.
So nourishingthemother.com.au.
And this week's topic is a pertinent one for Jules, isn't it? Going overdue and the challenges we face.
Yeah, I wrote a blog post this week, which I'm hoping you might have read if you're listening to this because it may be relevant to you. And it got quite a bit of feedback. So I just said to Bridge, I think there's an area here that doesn't get spoken about, that doesn't have a lot of voice around how hard this part is.
Yeah.
When you are expecting to either already have a baby in your arms or not to be here.
Yeah. And particularly the kinds of intentions with which you're going into birth and what can come up for you around it. Because if you're headstrong about a natural birth, then perhaps any kind of intervention's not really on your radar. It's really simply you and your own battles. Whereas if you're much more going with the system, then you're also dealing with not only your own battles, but the kind of external opinions and the external pushing and all of that kind of stuff that goes along with going past your due date in inverted commas.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just thought maybe we'd just talk about this a little bit, maybe just pull it apart and, I don't know, just kind of give some voice or some air to the difficulty of being in this space of it's beyond waiting, isn't it?
Yeah, and what I loved in the blog that you wrote was that you talked about how you'd been on the receiving end of so many phone calls from clients who were in this place and
so many.
Place of waiting and some part of you kind of felt for them but didn't really, to the extent that you now really feel where they're at, because this is really the first time that you found yourself this long past a due date, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the hard part was I realised what it brought up for me, and I think this is part of why I wrote that, because I thought there's a lot of gold I've pulled out of how to face this situation mentally, because I realise it's like daily Jedi mind training. Like this is an everyday / every hour internal battle between, no, it's fine, you can wait, and get the fuck out of my body.
Yeah.
No, it's fine, you can wait, we can be here, we can stay here longer. I don't want to be here any longer. And it's this constant trying to find, well, I guess mine the gold, find the beliefs that are in the way, find more and more and more and more and more.
Find the surrender in when you don't want to.
Yeah, but it's constant. It's not even, previously we have a problem, we apply a toolkit, we get to the side of the belief and we go, oh, get it, that feels better. Whereas here, it's hour by hour, and I'll get it peacefully for an hour, and then I'm like, nah, had enough. And then I'll find peace again, and then for the next hour, nah, had enough. And I thought, this is absolutely brutal. It is brutal. And in the face of all of that, not only are you dealing with your own internal conflict, but the world around you is a constant reminder of your lateness or your not measuring up or your, I don't know, however it is. And I think it's all well-meaning, but it's constant.
It's like that. Have you heard of that website? It's like called haveyouhadyourbabyyet.com.
No, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, and it's just this thing, I think people who go past the due date, as a joke, send this around to people because it's basically like this whole idea of no, stop asking. It's this particular website that you can go to and it just makes a whole joke of this thing that women find themselves in and that point at which we're just like, women get to the point of just thinking, stop asking me, stop I'm done. I'm done with the outside world. You know, I'm checking out.
Yeah, which is exactly what I've done.
Yeah.
That's literally what I've had to do. I realised I'm now nearly a week past my due date. I realised on Sunday when I had a total fucking meltdown because I was 100% sure I was not going to go over my due date. And I realised the belief
Why was that?
Well, I realised the belief underlying that was that babies deplete a woman's body.
Oh.
And the more babies you have, the weaker you get.
Oh, that's interesting.
So therefore, in my world with this belief, my body and my cervix wasn't going to be strong enough to hold on to this baby.
Oh.
Plus, I mean, our whole conception was, you know, so totally random. And anyway, I was 100% sure, and I realised that was the underlying belief that, and I can see where I've picked that up from in my lifetime, that, you know, children suck the life out of our bodies, when in essence, it's total BS. Like, it's total BS. And I really went, oh my God, I've spent this entire pregnancy thinking that it might be strong enough to sustain, you know, a pregnancy, but not strong enough to hold on to a really heavy baby who's so low down in my pelvis.
Wow.
The midwife can't even feel its head. Like,
oh my God.
I have a head between my legs and still my cervix won't open.
Oh my God.
And so I'm like, I laughed today. I had acupuncture today, and I said to her, I realised I had this belief last week. And she laughed at me and she goes, you know, that's got nothing to do with it. She's got everything to do with a woman's health and fitness and vitality and strength. And I was like, yes. And then I had this flashback to the jade egg. And I was like, fuck, has the jade egg fucked me again? No, I'm joking. I'm totally joking. But I was like, yeah, okay. So here I was thinking, no way was I going past my due date, because to make it to 40 weeks with your fourth child, like, surely, you know, everything's disintegrated by then and this baby's going to fall out. And I realised
it's a floppy.
No, and I realised it's actually the opposite, because I'm probably more vital, in essence, than I probably ever have been. And so, in essence, that whole belief was based on, I think it's probably my mother's, you know, handing down of, you suck the life out of me. And, you know, you hear women say this all the time with breastfeeding and babies, and this whole mindset of it's taking out and away from me, as opposed to I'm stronger and bigger because of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And so I spent quite a lot of time really sitting with, well, one, where that belief had come from, where it had taken me, where I picked it up, why I'd picked it up, blah, 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 blah. And then looked at where was the opposite true, where had each baby and each pregnancy made me stronger, built me further, rather than depleting me.
Yeah.
And so here I am with my fourth, potentially more integrated than I was with my first.
Isn't that interesting? And yet popular culture, or, you know, popular thinking would see, you know, how could you be possibly more integrated? How could you be possibly more vital?
Yes.
You know, as a mother of, you know, 4 compared to a mother of 1 or a mother of 2.
Yeah. So, which is really interesting. So I really, you know, encourage you to really look at the beliefs that are underlying why you expected something to play out the way that it did. And there were a lot of beliefs. Like, I went through quite a lot of journaling to work out what was underlying each one of those pieces. And really dealing with emotion that was moving through my body. And I realised I really had to stop hanging around people. That was what brought me here, was because the constant, oh God, you're still here. I'm like, yep, still here. Clearly, you know, like, even
I'm not an illusion.
No,
it's not a mirage.
And even today, I went to school for the first time today in all of this week, so we had basketball training, and even everyone's like, oh God, get out, baby. And I'm like, yeah, all right, you know,
Yeah.
I'm still here. Someone walked past and go, heard the baby yet? And I'm like standing there going, open up my jacket going, no, it's still here. Like, you know, I just thought, this is why. And even my mum, so my mum's been really beautiful this week, and she's helped me quite a bit with shuffling kids and things. And I had this mini crack at her yesterday, I think it was, because every time, any twinges? And I'm like, no, I'll bloody tell you when there is. Like, I'm so sick of this,
Yeah.
And she go, oh, sorry, I didn't know, And I felt bad at the time because it was a bit of an overreaction. And anyway, so she gets there today, and I was just saying to my husband before, she didn't ask me today if there was anything. What she did instead was tell me all the people that have asked her.
Oh, really?
I just thought, oh, God. And we had parent-teachers tonight, and my whole son's class has got bets on what day the baby's going to be born.
Oh, gosh, pressure.
And every day the kids are asked, but we now have bets at home about how many times they've been asked in a day about whether they've got a new sister. Like, it's just insane.
Yeah.
So I've completely hibernated from the world, and I'm completely, totally, and utterly bored. Which is driving me bonkers.
Yeah.
I think the boredom's driving me more bonkers than anything else. And I'm still really, I think the physical discomfort makes it harder to manage the mental discomfort as well, because you haven't just got one or the other, you've got both at the same time. And this week there's been 2 women that I know that have had their babies.
Yeah.
And I'm still here pregnant.
Yeah. I think that's also the big tricky one too. I mean, my sister-in-law's facing that too, that everyone around her who was due when she was due has all had their babies. And it's that whole waiting that it makes the waiting feel even more, certain and clear, and it's just you on your own now. You're just kind of waiting. It's almost like the bus didn't come. You just left, like going, what do I do?
Yeah, it's true. And so then you're in this constant battle with yourself, and I just really, in that blog, I really wanted to honour that inner battle, and as you and I say, listening to the feelings that come up and allowing there to be an expression of those feelings, very much a movement through the body so that you can get to the mental side of it on the other side of that expression, which you can't get to if they're just festering and continuing as a cycle within your body as opposed to having movement and fluidity through your body. And then getting real with the people around you. So, Sunday, the due date, when I totally dropped my bundle, I'd organised babysitting, and we were supposed to go to my brother-in-law's birthday party. And my beautiful husband, I chose to be like, I'd had another anger, let out, and I'd smashed the bed and melted down into tears, and he'd walked home at that point, and I just kind of went bleh. I'd kind of written everything down that I was feeling at that point in time. And completely let him see every ridiculous thought, every ridiculous notion, belief, completely unedited, which to some extent I've always edited bits and pieces, whereas this was probably one of the first just complete, here's the spectrum of, thoughts. And they were stupid thoughts, things from this baby's literally never coming out of my body, it's going to die in my body, to, the lesser ones of I just can't do this anymore and blah, blah, like everything. I got the opportunity to just say everything. And he completely just held my space and just sat there with me. And it was just so beautiful. And then he said, I'm cancelling this afternoon and we're going out. And I just went, no, don't do that. You don't have to do that. Obligations, blah, 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 blah. And he said, no, we're going. So we went out on a date instead of going to the birthday party that we were supposed to go to, which I was in no state to go to anyway. And so we went and had a wander around the Botanic Gardens together and sat in the sunshine and went out for dinner, and it was just really lovely. And then we went to like this ocean view kind of lovers lookout that's near us, and we made out in the car for like an hour.
Oh my God, that's so gorgeous.
It was so great. And so we got back home and I just felt completely and totally in love, to the point where my brain had done a complete 360 from earlier that day thinking, how could I possibly still be pregnant and this is shit and get me out of here, to, God, baby, thank you so much for not coming today, because I've just had the most incredible experience today of love, deep love and resonance and reconnection of passion and sensuality that, you know, we hadn't had in weeks.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And so I literally went to bed just feeling almost on the verge of tears of gratitude of, this is okay, you know, I'm really happy to still be here. And that was, which I wrote in the blog post as well, was when I started really thinking about intention and how those intentions are met with each birth. And it was actually my husband who had said to me, "You've had amazing births every time, right?" And I went, "Yeah, they've been amazing." And he went, "But none of them went to plan." And I went, "No, you're right. None of them went to plan." And it was such a great reminder of there's a difference between a plan and intention, and how the universe constructs itself to meet an intention, not a plan. And I then started thinking about each of my births, and I thought, do you know, that's incredible that each of my births, the intention has been met in some and many ways, but they've never rolled out the way I visualized in my head they would, or the way I planned for them to. But the end goal intention or affirmation always has.
But not always in the form that you would expect it to.
Not in the form, yeah, that's a better language. And so I was thinking about this one, and I was like, I knew weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks ago I'd made the intention of this birth is about love, because this is about reconnection. And then I looked at all of the ways that this love was coming to me, just not in the form that I thought it should, you know. And I just was hit with such incredible gratitude that it just carried me through another day before I hit that minefield again.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I read this passage in the book, which I also wrote in the blog, about just being grateful for, okay, it doesn't go to plan. Great. What's the benefit of that? What's it bringing you today? Blah, blah, blah. But every day is a mindset battle. And I think that's the hard part with being here.
Yeah.
It's also the first birth that I'm in a hospital system for, as opposed to a home birth system. So it's also the first time I've had to book in induction processes.
And how much do you think that that's playing out for you too? You know, that the resistance to facing.
Yeah, I've sat with that a lot, and it's actually not intervention. I thought initially my belief was natural good, intervention bad, but it's actually not at all my belief. And it's the only belief that I haven't yet nutted out exactly what its roots are. And I had said to my doula, I think its roots might be so big for me that I'm going to need coaching for it, because it's not about intervention, no intervention, because I've been at plenty of incredible births that have involved intervention, but it's when it's a last resort, when I've seen these women walk their deepest, darkest paths and then they get there. It's so for me, I realise the belief underlying it is not that if I chose intervention, it would be bad, and if I chose to stay natural, it would be good. It's that if I don't give myself the time and the space to walk the deep path, if I'm not a willing woman to face her shit, then the flip of that is worthlessness.
Wow.
So I honour women who face their shit, and I dishonour women who choose the easy route. And I still haven't worked out what that is. I still don't know exactly where that's come from. The only dots I can join at the moment are my sister was incredibly, you know, intelligent. Everything came easy for her in schooling years, and I had to fight and struggle to get where I got in schooling years. But it doesn't feel deep enough, but that's kind of, I guess, the same resonance. Easy route bad, hard route good is essentially what that belief is.
Yeah.
And yet I know that the flip of that belief is the easy route often leads to the hard route, and the hard route often leads to the easy route.
And it's also about empowering every area, right? So there'll be some areas where you're taking the easy route, but this is a area of life because it's of such high importance to you that you're taking the hard route because you want the outcome you want.
No, exactly. And I can totally see how this belief has served me. I can see how it continues to serve me. It's not even necessarily a belief I want to let go of.
Yeah.
What I don't want is the sting that it brings with it. So the fact that it's got an emotional edge to it says to me that there's a trigger there, that it's not just a belief I can choose to carry on because I can see the benefit in it.
Yeah, it's coming
There's
from
a trigger, and I just can't work out exactly what that particular trigger is. So the thing is, it keeps me striving, right? So instead of, because I could have at any point this week walked in and gone, get me that induction.
Yeah.
Anytime. I was at an appointment on Tuesday and the midwife said, what do you want to do? We can do da-da-da-da-da. And I went, yeah, it's really tempting because I really don't want to be here. I'd really rather be there.
Yeah.
And you're offering me an easy way out. And I could take it. And I just really sat with it, and my husband had come to the appointment with me, and I'd said to him beforehand, even as we were in the waiting room, I said, I know they're going to offer it to me. I said, I'm in two minds about it. And it was great. He just sat with me and he went, yeah, you know, I get that. But he goes, I know you too. And if you said yes today as opposed to next week, you'd regret it.
Yeah.
And I went, yeah, I would. So I said to this beautiful midwife, you know, thank you. I really know that that's an option, and I'm not going to lie, I'm really tempted because this is shit. Like where I am right now is shit. I'm uncomfortable and it's awful and I don't want to be here anymore. But I'm not 100% okay, really, in going down the path of intervention yet. It's not 100% congruent. And if I'm not 100% congruent on a choice I make, shit will go wrong. It wouldn't matter what that choice was. If I wasn't 100% in, that's when shit goes wrong. So I'm still 100% on, I've got to find the gold here and work through it.
Do you have a mental kind of date in mind, though, that you'll go to? Like, if you kind of said, you know, are you not even thinking when intervention would be okay yet? Like, you know, when induction would be okay?
No, so I'm in a hospital system, so I have to book everything in. So everything's been booked in. So,
and how does that feel to be knowing you have have that over your head? Does it feel like it's hanging over your head?
No, look, to be honest with you, it doesn't, because I also workshopped with this midwife ways that work for me with the system. So, you know, with this system, with induction methods, you can easily have 14 days, no worries.
Yeah.
So I asked for the 14 days. She said, you can do 10, you can do 14. You know, I think certainly depending on where you're at, you could stretch it to 21. I've had some clients that have done that. So I said I was fine with 14. I think I'd probably be insane by 14 days overdue anyway. And it would start with, you know, it would be a building up of a cascade. So one day we would do a stretch and sweep. The next day it would be the gel. The day after that it would be the breaking of waters. And then the day after that it would be drip. So I don't imagine that, given my labour history, a fourth-time mum and a baby that is so, so low, that I would even get to the drip, even if I got to the breaking of waters.
Yeah.
Because even if I got to the breaking of waters, then I know I've got... Their standard is 4 hours between breaking waters and induction. I know I could stretch that to 24 to 48 hours without being too much of a problem. And I know that with a baby where it is and without a water bubble between it and my cervix, I'm 100% sure I would go into labour without needing the drip. And the midwife was really clear on, if there's any sign of labour, we won't give you the drip.
Yeah.
And I went, I don't think I'll get there. So, you know, I mean, There's comfort, I suppose, in knowing there is an end date when in your head every day you're like, it's never coming out. It's never happening. It would still, I'd have to face a lot of fear to still be there doing those forms of intervention. Even a stretch and sweep. I've never had a stretch and sweep before. You know, no one's hands have been up my yoni beside my own. So to even have that whole concept is to face a lot of myself, I suppose, to be there. But then I also think if I get there, it is my last resort because I know I've done everything before I've got there. And I think knowing that means by the time I get there, I'm 100% congruent with being there.
Yeah. Because you face everything.
There's nothing left.
Yeah.
There's no door unopened. There's no stone unturned consciously. There's nothing that I haven't tried or wouldn't try. And I think that allows you the ability to surrender with love, which is generally what I've seen in my clients who have gone on that journey. When they know they've done everything and they've looked at every aspect and here's where they are, there's a calm and a surrender that can come with that. But I couldn't do it for myself if I haven't done everything else first.
Yeah.
Because I believe so deeply in the transformational process of birth and women. And I know already in this week the stuff that I've had to process and work through. I know the stuff that women face as their bodies are opening and their psyche is opening and their subconscious is cracking open at the same time in ways that consciously they can't do. I know the shit that comes up. And that's why I resource myself with a team to help me work through that. And if I didn't give myself the opportunity to at least be there in the hard yards, I'd be hating on myself later.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that. So here's where I find myself. It's the rock and the hard place. Because nothing's easy. It wouldn't be easy if I chose to take my get out of jail free card and have that induction and get this baby out of my body now.
Yeah.
It still wouldn't be easy. And I dare say it would be harder on the other side of motherhood for me, psychologically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I stay here and psychologically it's fucking hard and I'm hoping I get to the other side with a baby where it's not.
Yeah. Doing the work now.
But I don't know. I don't know which way it's going to go. All I can tell you is this part is really hard. This waiting, this discomfort in everything, right? Discomfort in your body, discomfort in your world, discomfort in your projections and perceptions, discomfort in how you thought everything would play out. I think it probably brings up a lot of fear and doubt for women about how they can do it and can they cope and can their bodies do it and will their birth be okay. It's way more time to think, right? And not an opportunity to just kind of get in there. I think it can be emotionally very volatile. And if you're not aware or have a toolkit for handling the emotions that come up, I think they could be very destructive when in relationships. And I think that would be really hard approaching birth with that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, you know, I just really wanted to honour how fucking hard this part is. And I don't think I've ever really, really deeply honoured how hard it is. You know, I've honoured women who have sobbed and I've been on the phone, you know, and with them, talking to them, you know, what's holding you back, what's stopping you from surrender, blah, blah, blah. But it's so much bigger than just even for me now understanding this word surrender because it's bigger than that. It's totally calling us into this cracking open of our subconscious to the beliefs, to the barriers to love, to, you know, like it's bigger than this word that I thought encompassed everything, which was surrender, which now I kind of go, it's fucking not, right? Because it's not passive either.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you're in depth in a very, very active process of having to mind through this stuff.
You're having to like be really active in the process of working out what the fuck is going on in your head. Let alone your body, right? Because we all know birth is so much more up here than what it is down there. So it's really hard, and I think we don't talk about it, and everyone kind of moans and groans about it, but there's no real catharsis or toolkit or anything like that. And I really think the toolkit that you and I talk about in this podcast, the things I put in that blog post to consider, all kind of give you access to starting to look at the quality questions to find what is going on. And even like me, you get stuck on a belief that feels so entrenched you can't even connect with. It could even be implicit memory. I don't even know where this memory that has laid this belief has come from. But I think just even sitting in the question is sometimes enough. And it's like an onion. You get layers of those answers. You're not going to necessarily hit the mother pot of gold the first time you ask yourself the question about where and why.
It's a continuous process of just scratching at that and being and also bringing a willingness to see what's there too.
Yeah. And I do think it is totally worthwhile resourcing yourself with a birth team that can support this. Support you mentally, support you emotionally, support you physically, you know, whatever it is that allows you to continue the movement of whatever this phase is for you. I think it's enormously important because now I realise how this must set women up, not only for birth, but beyond birth in new motherhood. Like whatever we're carrying or not carrying now, likely we face or don't face then, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't go away.
It doesn't, and it's continually calling us in.
And if I chose to escape, you know, hit that escape route button now, would I meet it in birth? And if I chose to hit the escape route button there, would I meet it in new motherhood? Like it's never disappearing. Don't you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean,
well, it's a theory and it's a philosophy I'm going with anyway.
Yeah, you know, and it's messy, it's hard, it's uncomfortable, and, you know, we live in a world where it's enormously seductive to try and take the easy way out, right? Like, I mean, and everybody around you would be completely supportive if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, I know.
So it's a real battle. I can see where you're at with that, but ultimately, you know, really staying congruent with yourself and doing what you need to do to honour that authenticity within you by, you know, creating your own little cocoon is absolutely wise, I think.
Yeah, it's wise, but it's I'm not going to lie, it's really hard.
Yeah.
And I don't even, like I say, I'm, you know, here in the grit going, I just have faith that there's something here and I just keep going. But it's hour by hour that I have to keep myself there mentally. Because every other hour I'm like, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And so I really get it, you know. I
And then how much is that also serving to balance any polarization toward, you know, the natural way and you know, start to see more of why women choose intervention.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, jump on to nourishingthemother.com.au, and in our blogs you will see a blog there that I wrote called Due Date Breaking. Things to consider when you're overdue. And I'm hoping there's some gold in there for you if you are a practitioner who works with women in this space, or if you find yourself here, or perhaps a friend or a loved one that you could send it on to them and it might give them just a little bit more, I don't know, courage or oomph just to keep going.
Yeah. Thanks so much for opening up and sharing that too, because it's big stuff.
Yeah, look, I don't know if I've shared it even very well because it is still very much in my head. But thanks. I just wanted to give just some air and some breath to, it is really hard. And it's easy to talk about the insights and the revelations after the fact, but we rarely get to hear the stories when you're in the depth. Yeah. And I'm here. I'm here in the depth, trying to muddle my way through whatever this is bringing up. And I really get how hard that is for each of us on whatever our muddled journey is, right? This one of precipice of new life just, I think, sometimes is bigger because we're forced so much more into our subconscious with the opening of our psyches and the opening of our bodies and the dynamic between mother and child that at the moment is kind of one.
Absolutely.
So I'm hoping the next time we do a podcast, I'll have a baby in my arms. But I still don't know how that's going to roll out. I don't know yet if that's going to involve intervention or not. And I don't know what wisdom I'm going to mine in the process of getting there. So honouring you queen bees who are also doing this. Yeah,
absolutely.
And to connect with us is nourishingthemother.com.au, Nourishing the Mother on Facebook and Instagram. And you, Bridge?
Yeah, suburbansandcastles.com. And you, Jules?
Is thepleasurenutritionist.com. And we'll see you next week when we continue to peel back the layers on your mothering journey.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.